Let's go over the basics of the display property. In detail, there's a lot that goes on with this. You can, for example, add it to tables, and there are lots of options. So this video is more like an introduction to it. I'm going to make a longer course, or at least I've planned to make a longer course on CSS positioning, where we go over all of the details. But in this case, we want to check for basic 3 values. Here you can see for an unordered list, 3 list items. We have what is called a block display. So every element gets its own line. And if we create 3 links, and we save and refresh, we now have what is called an inline display. So all 3 elements, all 3 links are in the same line. And these are the 2 basic, let me fix this typo here. These are the 2 basic display values that most elements in HTML have by default. It's either block or inline. You can see anchor elements have the inline and list items have the block value. If we wanted to change that, we could simply target them in our CSS. So I select the LE tag and set the display to inline. And is going to reposition these elements from a block to a single and inline display. When you do that, you can also see for this unordered list, it kind of resets the display or the style of our bullet points. Third value is none. That's, I would say, self-explanatory. If I add that, the element is not going to be visible anymore. Use case for that would be that you add kind of like a button, and when the user clicks on it, only then a certain element will be displayed. And if it isn't clicked, it's going to be hidden. Let's check our anchor elements, and I'll set the display to block. And this makes it now appear in 3 different lines. As I've said, inline is the default here, which makes it appear in a single line. You can also use that on paragraphs and basically any element by using the span tag, which you could see as kind of like a helping tool. So let me create a simple paragraph, an example paragraph with lots of words and random characters, something like this. Default display is inline, so a single line until the browser window has become too small, and then it jumps to the second line, but we can force a line break by using a span, and we'll set the display for the span then to block. Let's, for example, add it right here. After an example, I'll add the span opening. And right here I add a closing span, and this will actually cause 2 line breaks to appear. So when the span starts, there will be a line break forced, and when it ends, but for that to appear, we'll have to select the span, curly brackets, set the display to block. And if I save and refresh, we now have 3 lines for our paragraph. And these are the basics of using this display property.